get started.
Good morning. Welcome to school committee meeting of Friday, November 30th, 2018. First item on the agenda, minutes. So we have minutes from November 8th, 2018. Does anyone have any comments or questions?
I just have to say that I'm so sorry to miss the meeting because to see the wonderful China presentation.
Oh, if I can share the videos with you.
No, I'm not.
I didn't
I'm
think
just
of
saying
that.
that I'm sorry to miss the meeting, so, and I don't really have a comment because I was
Okay.
It was a very nice presentation.
It was.
Excellent.
All right, so I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of November 8th, 2018. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Next set, Friday, November 16th, 2018. A lot of information.
I make a motion to approve.
Second, all in favor?
They actually did very well at that meeting too.
Someone said.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They did very well, even in the snow.
Okay, payments are going around. Item 3, it says discussion and possible vote to approve A Straight Alliance Club at EMS. I know that the name is Gender Sexuality Alliance. And this club is, I'll just read a little description from the Gender Sexuality Alliance at Oliver Ames. It's a group committed to providing the school community with a safe and relaxed environment for discussion and education about gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender issues and support for all LGBTQ students. People of all sexualities, gender identities, and viewpoints join together in an atmosphere of mutual respect and acceptance. All are welcome. And so Mr. Carroll has worked with parents, students, and teachers to establish this club. We're very happy he's doing it. It's a great idea, and we don't need to vote on it. If anyone has any comments,
I would just like to add something.
Sure.
So I was under the impression that Mr. Carroll was looking for a stipended advisor for this position. In that case, it would need to go before the school committee. I clarified with him last evening that they're looking to get it up and running at this point and are not looking for a stipend. So it isn't a vote for the school committee now because it's a moot point. Should they want a stipended advisor in the future, they will come back and talk to you about it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next item is a discussion and possible vote to approve the educational programming for the elementary school project. Dr. Cabral?
Sure. So as we've discussed several times, the educational program for the MSBA potential project is a very important component. It really drives and should drive the entire project. We want to make sure that any facility, any building, any spaces that are used by students are used with very specific vision for education in mind. With that said, there are very specific procedures that we've been following in order to get a comprehensive plan put together. So the educational leadership team, which is made up of administrators from the district, led by the Assistant Superintendent Chrissy Pruitt, worked on an original draft without input from outsiders. We just started a draft first. Then we went through the process of soliciting input from as many stakeholders as possible. And to just reiterate what we've done, we had 3 visioning sessions with a team of about 30-ish people who represented stakeholders from all over the community, inside and outside of the district. They met 3 times for 4 hours each under the direction of a consultant who led them through a series of activities envisioning the educational plan for the future. Then we had 2 community forums that were opened broadly to anyone in the community. We had wonderful ideas and feedback and suggestions from those groups. And then we had a faculty forum. Same idea, same purpose, same result. We received some excellent feedback from the faculty at large. What we are doing now is we received last Wednesday a report from the consultant of all of the information that we received at the visioning. While some of us have participated in all of the visioning efforts so far, we wanted to make sure that we waited for that report because the consultant had all of the handwritten notes, all of the information, all the feedback forms from everyone, and what we want to make sure of is that none of the information that was captured is not represented in the educational plan. So we waited for the report, we received that Wednesday evening, the day before Thanksgiving. We wanted to have the report ready for the school planning committee, which was meeting this Wednesday. In order to do that, we felt it wasn't fair for them to get it that day. They would need it at least a couple days in advance in order to, they don't actually approve the plan, they recommend it to go forward to the school committee for the school committee's approval, which is required under MSBA guidelines before it goes to MSBA. So the timeline, again, would have been Wednesday evening to have it ready for Monday. I didn't feel comfortable asking the staff to do that over the weekend, and to be perfectly honest, I want to make sure it's done very, very well. So what we're doing now is we have all of the visioning notes, we have the original draft so that it captures the administrative input, and we have, I pulled 2 models of previously accepted MSBA educational plans just for format and structure and things that are included as a model. That will be put together and will be completed Monday, at which point it will be forwarded to the chair of the committee, which is Jane, and our designer and OPM. They will review it just to make sure there are no glaring errors or that it fits the MSBA formats and so on, and then it will be forwarded to the SBC. They will then read it, they will make any remarks or suggestions or questions, and they will then hopefully vote to forward it to the school committee for your consideration for approval, and then it goes to the MSBA. Hopefully, we will do all that so that it makes it in time for the January MSBA meeting, and we will then wait to hear if they approve our plan.
So then it would need to be on our December.
Correct. It's December 13th.
Okay.
SBC is meeting December 12th.
Oh.
Well,
You're gonna die.
it's not my expectation that the school, it's not really the role of the school planning committee to make substantive changes to this document. This document is very much the result of a process that the educational leadership and the community has fed us information for. My expectation is that the school planning committee will read the document beforehand, and at the meeting that night, they may look for, clarification or, where did this come from? But it's not really their role. It's not their role to write the document. The document is the result of a
Or approve
process.
it.
Or
But
approve
if
it.
there were any, we
Right.
want as many eyes on it as possible.
Right.
People are very involved in the process.
Yeah.
If there were any glaring inconsistencies or an issue, we would work that evening to fix it, or we could always table the meeting as well and push it back.
And if we needed to do that, just as a heads up, if we needed to do that, I might be asking that we would hold a special school committee meeting just to approve that, because I don't want this to hold up our January submission of a,
That shouldn't be a problem, because we only have that one meeting scheduled in December anyway, so we could always do it for the workshop meeting and do that.
Can I ask, what was the source of the models that you used to kind of
Which were the schools
Yeah.
that we chose? Carver, which is the most recently completed, and
did you look at the devotion school in Brookline? I looked
it
at
wasn't
that one.
Brookline.
Yeah.
It was,
It's not, they're all,
it's on my desk right now, I apologize.
they're on the MSBA website. That's how I knew to look at them, is I read.
I didn't choose Brookline, I didn't think it was as similar to the format that we would choose to use for our purposes. I can't think of it off the top of my head. One definitely was Carver, I know that.
MSBA provides a sort of template.
Oh, yeah.
They provide categories that they want to make sure you discuss, yes. But of course, everybody's plan is different because your educational needs, your vision, your goals for your district are going to be different. So they're helpful in terms of the structure and format, but the content, of course, will be unique to Easton.
Okay, anything else on this item? All right, so discussion and possible vote to change the December 13th, 2018 school committee meeting start time. So should we, so we're thinking of doing this because of the concert?
The winter concert,
Yeah.
which, if we do change this meeting, then I'm gonna also speak with Rob Wheeler, who's the head of the music department for next year, and say, look at the calendar, where you schedule the
Yeah.
concert. So I just would like to start,
some things because.
well, I know, but this is so big, I mean, you know,
Well-
it is, it's, well,
It's big, but the schools have tons of big things, that's all the time, but, okay, so are we talking about actually changing the date?
No.
Time.
So,
That's what I thought.
yeah.
So I would like to just propose that we start our Thursday meeting at maybe 5:30. You know,
Well, five is fine.
5 is fine with me. Can you make 5 work? Just double check.
That's Thursday.
December 13th.
Yeah, 5 should be fine, is that,
Yep.
is that
You're
okay
okay
with
with that?
you?
Thank you.
5 or 5:30?
5.
Okay. And I'm just gonna jump in here. I do think it's appropriate sometimes that we do look at a calendar and make sure that we don't have conflicts with things that are major events across the district. I know sometimes,
Well, that's true, but usually our calendar is in place like a
Right.
whole year.
Yes,
Right.
well, that's what I'm
You said,
saying.
I think
Right.
it's a little bit more incumbent on other.
that's
Right.
what, that's what Nancy said.
Oh,
That is
okay.
totally,
She's got it.
that's what I'm saying,
Yeah,
that's, you
okay,
know.
good.
And normally, you know, it's a concert, yes, they have concerts all over the place and musicals and things like that, but I just find this one to be very special.
So I'll make a motion to change the December 13th, 2018 meeting to begin at 5:00 PM. Do I have a second?
Second,
All in favor?
thank you.
I'll let you count. Okay, discussion and possible vote to accept the superintendent's goals, Dr. Cabral.
Could I just go back to?
Sure.
Are we sure that the space is available at 5?
That's a good question.
I mean, who
So-
would go?
You want me to?
Well, it's at the, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
So
I
no,
believe it is at 5.
Yeah, no, I just, sometimes there's.
Yes.
No, that's a
Oh,
good
yes.
question.
You
I
are.
just didn't know if that had been checked out yet, so.
I don't know.
So, I'm sorry, Linda, do you know?
I believe it is.
Okay.
I'll send checking in there.
Just occurred to me that we could walk in on, I think, wasn't
On the
recently that
cross-country
we
team or the
came.
football team,
Well,
the football team's all that.
Well, I know, but wasn't it recently that you had to open the windows?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was because of the football team.
Okay.
Okay. Yep,
TMI, as we say.
very much so.
Okey dokey, next item, Dr. Cabral.
Sorry, yes. So we're going through the process of taking a look at the goals. I put together my goals from the recommendation of the school committee. There were 6 areas that you identified for me to be sure to focus on. I tried to capture the intent of those particular standards, both from the rubric and the notations that I took from your comments, as well as being sure that they followed the strategic plan so far to date. Normally, of course, the strategic plan would be finished first, but this is the year out of the 5-year process that we're working on it, and so, but we do have enough, so it's not yet completed, but we do have enough certainty to go by with the vision and the core values and the strategic objectives that I could easily make sure that it followed the vision going forward. So I believe that these do follow that. What I want to make sure of is that they, as I said, capture the intent of the board choosing those, and that when you look at the key actions and benchmarks that I've added, that they are acceptable and that they have your approval to go forward and for me to publish these and move on with them. Or, of course, if there are changes, to let me know.
Comments, questions?
I have a tiny question. Let's see, page 3. So key actions for management operations. So when you say, how are you using the term calibrate quality of interview and hiring process across this district? How are you
That's a good question.
determine that?
In that context, I mean that as a cabinet, we are going to have not only a discussion about the procedures we use in hiring staff, advertising and hiring staff, but we're also actually going to have a written guideline. That would include things like conducting a model lesson if it's a teacher, things like the appropriate background and reference checks, everything from those technical things to the instructional things like a model lesson. You know, depending on what the role is, it would be a different requirement. But we're going to make sure that whether it's an elementary teacher or a secondary teacher, we are at least, we have at least a level of rigor that's a minimum. And we do it differently across the district right now, and so I think it's important to sort of coordinate that and calibrate what we're doing. Make sure the level of rigor is at a minimum. Certainly they can surpass that, but across the district.
Is there any way to add in this area, just some sort of general statement about commitment to, whenever possible, more diversity among staff? Something like that, just as a statement of intent. I know that this is, an area that many districts are finding challenging, but I think it's helpful sometimes to just have a sort of statement of intent.
Yes.
I know this is kind of late.
No, you're not late. This was the intention, and we actually talked about this, so I did share this document with the cabinet, and we actually did discuss that. So I guess it's not as explicitly worded as we maybe thought, but when we were talking about,
Well, I mean, it's implicit, but.
Right, we just need to make it more
I sometimes
explicit.
think something like that should be explicit.
Absolutely.
And just for clarification, diversity can mean a lot of different things.
Correct.
That it can mean, background, it can mean education, it can mean a lot of different things, so I'm
Right,
really
and I actually
clear.
have those words in them, that's why I'm trying to find it.
And
No, I'm wondering if it's in a different section.
it's actually background kind of captures most elements. I mean, obviously background can be cultural, educational, all of those things. Socioeconomic, everything.
Right.
Because, wait, I don't think it's there.
Is it?
Sorry. I've looked at this so many times that I'm forgetting where it is.
Well, almost, under your key actions, your last one explained that, which is, you almost could add something like, seek opportunities to enlist staff, faculty, staff in a variety of diverse array of backgrounds and.
You know what? I actually think that's an action step in our plan that we're working on right now. And because I remember wordsmithing that exact thing.
Okay, good.
So clearly that is our explicit intention, but it's only implicit here, so thank you for bringing that up. Because I look at so many documents and we're really working on that, and I remember actually wordsmithing that, I actually thought it was in here, so thank you for bringing that up. I can take the wording right from that actually, because we worked so hard on making sure. Because the word background, for example, we talked about for so long, because we wanted to make sure that it was clear that it was so encompassing of many things. And I think we ended up on a diverse educational and professional background or experiences or something of that nature. I'll have to bring it up.
Education professional is a little too narrow.
Yeah, I have to look at the exact wording, and I don't have the plan here.
I'm pretty certain you
But I'll make
understand
sure.
the intent.
Oh, I absolutely do, because we
Talked
shared
about
the
this many
intent.
times.
So
I
if
know.
it's not explicit to you, it won't be explicit to people reading it on the website or asking questions about it. So it's very important that I make sure to clarify that.
We all know this is important to you,
Right.
actually.
Right, but the wording really has to indicate it clearly. Thank you for bringing that up, that's important.
On the last page, I think the document is great. I mean, I hated writing these when I was teaching, but anyway, this is very nice. On the benchmarks, partnership with reputable mental health provider facility will be established. It's the last, it's number 6. Benchmark.
I do have that one, I'm sorry.
Do we have a mental health provider facility that we're using yet?
Actually, we have reached out, and we
Okay.
are, we reached out to McLean, and
Oh,
we
good.
are, I can't say that we have a partnership yet.
Yeah.
But that's why it's
That's
in
fine.
here.
I'm just,
So we have reached out, and we are looking to create a partnership, and
That's
so
great.
if it's not with them, we will continue and
That's
find another.
because we do use in this, we have kids that are there, so that's good.
Absolutely, yes.
And then the other thing,
Certainly reputable fits that.
Absolutely.
and the 5th bullet down, each administrator will complete a teacher survey and each teacher will complete a student survey for use in reflected practice by June 2019. So, what, I'm not really sure what that means.
Okay. Right now, as part of the evaluation process, all of the administrators, so I do a survey of the administrators, since of the superintendent. All of the administrators do a survey of the teachers, do
So-
a survey of them, and the teachers send a survey to their students to do a survey of them.
Oh, I see, okay.
What we haven't focused so much on is making sure that each of those people then incorporates that into their reflective practice.
Okay.
So doing a survey is one thing, but making sure that they're using it metacognitively and deciding what their goals are going forward and reflecting on their own practice, we're going to focus on that.
Do the administrators make up the survey? Do the teachers make up the survey? Or is it like everybody gives the same one?
We have established guidelines that we worked out with the union last year or the year before.
Okay.
So there is a bank of questions that are common for everyone, and then there are a certain number of questions that are optional that they can add. And of course, it's different at every level as well. So I can share those guidelines with the committee.
I was confused about that, but thank you. I think it's a very nice document.
Can I ask a follow-up to Nancy? And I wouldn't have thought of it if you hadn't brought this up. So people, teachers are providing feedback to their principals, for example.
Yes.
But do you do peer-to-peer feedback as well? So would a principal look for feedback from the other principals in the district about?
We do have, not necessarily on their particular practice as a principal, but we do a survey of the cabinet as a reflection of the team itself and how we work together and function as a team, but not necessarily, commenting on the high school's performance as a principal per se, more as the cabinet itself.
And that would be difficult because different levels have so many different.
I know.
requirements. But I'm going back to Nancy's little question here. So with each administrator, I agree when you read that, it's a little confusing because it's complete, the survey. So in a way, it's administered. Isn't that what you're using, that you then use for reflective? In other words, the administrative doesn't complete. It is a little confusing the way it
It's
reads.
worded, okay.
It's like the administrator's doing a survey of this, like,
Oh,
say, by rating of this student.
Right.
Or her. So it's kind of their administrative.
Sure. Yes, absolutely.
So, can I go?
Yes, of course.
Are you done, Nancy?
I'm all set, thank you.
So, first of all, I have one comment that I'm really happy to see, which is under the human resources management. When you talk about encouraging exemplary educators to pursue leadership opportunities and further education and professional development in this area, I think it's true. That for me is truly an important thing because you're talking about growing, you're talking about how people can advance their own careers and succession procedures in place. So I was very happy to see that in there. The other thing that I have a question about is under the fiscal, and maybe it's implied, but I want to ask, and I can find it. Right? There it is. So, you talk about allocate and manage expenditures consistent with the district and school level goals and available resources. So for me, and maybe it's implied in the creating a district budget that aligns to the current district vision and goals, but I think, and probably even at our level, I'd like to see more conversations around, given a limited budget, and given that this is what we want to achieve in our vision and goals, these are the old things that we can give up and reallocate money to. I sometimes wonder if we don't, I actually know that you do, but it's that constant examination of that we can't just be adding money to the pot, so how are we reallocating the money so that we can achieve our vision and goals? It's a delicate balance, but between maintaining what we do today and moving us forward.
Correct.
So,
Okay. So something.
does that make sense to
Yeah,
everybody?
it's about the reallocation.
Yeah, if appropriate.
Yeah, where appropriate.
Yeah.
And thank you for reminding me that. No, seriously, the earlier comment that you made was something that jumped out at me too,
Yeah.
so.
So that was, otherwise, I think this was very thorough, as always.
Yes, it's really a great document.
I'll make those changes and ensure that it's available for
Thank you.
So do we need
So
to
we
vote
need to
to approve these?
Sure, we can, I can make a, do you want to make it?
No, go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion to vote, I'm going to make a motion to accept the superintendent's goals with the comments that we made today. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Public comment? Superintendent, Dr. Rob.
So I will defer, since I'm sure you're going to talk about something a little bit later.
Okay.
I'll let you do that.
Mrs. Pruitt's not here today, so we have assistant parents unless she gave you.
No, she's at a conference for Title I.
So school committee notes, there is kind of a big topic to talk about, but I just didn't know if anyone else had anything else they wanted to talk about.
It's coming that busy time of year, and I just like to, remind folks there's lots of events that go on. Look at a calendar and take advantage of the opportunities because, whether it's a music event or the drama club or there's the holiday festival is this weekend, hosted by the Lions Club. It's a really busy time of year for the town of Easton and the school district.
I want to add something to you.
Oh, yes, the Easton Early Elementary School project is actually going to have a table for information at the holiday fair. Most of the tables get set up on the stairs to Frothingham Hall and the landing, so that's where we'll be. So stop by.
Oak Ames Hall.
It's Oak Ames Hall. Thank you.
You don't want to send them to the
Yeah,
wrong
send them to
building.
the wrong building. Yes.
Which you mentioned the calendar, so I wanted to thank Lynn for creating the calendar
Yeah.
events for us. I already mentioned this to Lynn. Obviously we have newer school committee members and so on, and I think we probably can't add specific things like the concert. I mean, for example, this concert's not on because there would be 50 things a month that you'd have to add. So even though one member had requested the addition of a specific fundraising event, there are so many fundraising events among all the schools all the time. I think that in general, traditionally, we've never had that kind of thing on the school committee, sort of reminder calendar. So we probably should sort of stick to the stuff that we're expected to definitely, the all school events, the all district events, things like that.
So,
but thank you
National,
for,
And just to interject, that's why that community calendar that
Right.
Mrs. Varela
Yeah.
and some other people put together that's
Oh,
a
it's
treasure.
Yeah.
it's a treasure, and also each school has their own
I mean, it has
calendars.
the concerts, it has the athletic events, it has, different fundraisers and special things at the different schools.
Yeah.
But again, I think that there's district-wide things that absolutely need to be on that calendar. We can look at that every year to say, is there something new we should add this
Yeah,
wide?
Right, but,
You know.
but I know Linda's being responsive to school committee members, and I appreciate that very much, and it's great having that, sort of like a little cheat sheet, so we don't have to go on the school website and try to search.
Yeah,
What do I have to go to?
Yeah.
Thank you.
What would I like to go to?
Okay, so the other item that I think we should be discussing is, as everyone knows at this point, Wednesday at the high school, a student found a racist board on a bulletin board outside the locker rooms. The student reported it to Mr. Paul, and Mr. Paul took immediate steps to remove it, identify and discipline the student responsible. He also sent a letter home to all OA parents, and I just want to thank Mr. Paul for his very quick action with this incident. I think he handled it perfectly. It's always horrifying when something like this happens at your school, and we just really appreciate the steps he took to take care of it. I think this kind of brings into maybe a larger discussion about how we handle it as a community, whether what the communication should be. I think Mr. Paul did it perfectly with the OA parents. Do we think that a letter should go out to all parents, to all community members? Is that not necessary? How do we want to? Fortunately, we have to think about this because these incidents are on the rise, not in Easton per se, but everywhere in the state and the country at this point. So I think
And the
maybe
media gets a hold
and the media gets a hold of it. So I think it's good to just have a conversation about communication. So I'm kind of curious to hear everyone's feedback and thoughts on this.
So I hadn't really, I thought that Mr. Paul's letter was perfect. He explained, what happened and what he did and how it was handled. And he also got across the message that beyond that information, it's not appropriate to be sharing other information. So I think that was very important. But when you just said, should something go out to all parents, it hadn't even occurred to me that had gone to OA parents and not all parents. And I don't know. Do you have any sense in other districts when something like this happens? Do they send it out to the entire district?
I was given a copy by the chair of the Human Rights Committee of a letter that did go out to the Lexington community. Something happened last spring out in the schools, and I can just pass this around. So this went out to the whole community.
That was a joint, that was a letter that went out kind of jointly, I think, is that
Yes.
Paul?
Yeah, it was from the school committee and the town.
And was
Yeah.
it the chief of police?
Yeah.
And there were a number of people
Yeah.
that signed
Yeah.
that. That is the other thing though that we really have to bear in mind at all times is the privacy laws and, protecting, even the students that, mistakenly, obviously do these things, even we have to protect their privacy.
Absolutely.
So that's, it's a really tricky balance, because once you provide too much specific information, then you have potentially put that child or those children at risk as well.
And we
So,
don't want to do that, but I'm wondering if, the letter that Mr. Paul wrote, would that be appropriate to send to all parents?
that would have to be a superintendent decision, obviously.
Right.
I actually think the way that he wrote that is perfect. It would be perfect to send to all, I think. I don't see
It's a great letter.
there was nothing in there that was identifying. Actually, that letter from Lexington makes me a little bit nervous in terms of the ability for someone to figure out.
Right. That I think has a little too much
Too
detail.
specific.
Right. Yeah.
And I remember that when I was on the human rights committee, this letter this is some time ago.
Last, yeah,
We talked about.
two springs, yeah, actually two springs.
Last year. I felt this was too specific.
I agree, I think that's too
Too
specific.
detailed. Um,
But as far as this, I mean, if something happens at Parkview, the whole,
Right.
I mean, you just, and I understand the impact of all of this. I just think that he targeted the audience that needed to be targeted, and that, yes, Easton doesn't condone any of this, but that happens in every school. So I think he did the job. I think that's where, rather
That needed to
than,
be done.
that's where that's how I feel. If it-
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm actually now thinking about the, maybe it's because the high school is kind of at the top of the pyramid, but I'm wondering, and I don't mean that, but I'm wondering exactly what you said. If something happened at one of the primary schools, would we automatically send a letter to even high school students, and how would that feel? I honestly, I'm not sure. I think I can see both perspectives in this, which
I mean, the
don't-
difficulty is that social media adds in the
Right.
right. So, of course, within an hour, I saw this on several Facebook
Right.
sites.
And so if all the parents are gonna find out anyway,
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Email it to all the
What do you-
parents just as a point of information.
Right.
Email it to every parent
Right.
as a point of
As a
information.
point of
We
information.
should say this is the letter that Mr. Paul
Well,
sent
that's-
to high school students in response to
Recent-
this
A recent incident.
And
But again, it's up to Dr. Cabral.
It is, but I do think if we're gonna make the policy, we need to be consistent.
right,
If we're gonna send this to everybody, then if something does happen at any of the schools, we need to follow the same set of guidelines, I would think.
I think so too, I think that's why it's worth having this discussion.
So,
That would seem to make sense, of course, to be consistent, and in many areas we do try to be consistent. Sometimes with situations like this, well, every time with situations like this, there are a lot of details that can't be disclosed to the
Of course.
public.
right,
And that set of details sometimes makes a difference in each case. There's a big difference between a student, I mean, I'll just throw out really extreme possibilities, between a student who could be easily identified, a student who had an agenda and that there is a large issue, a student who maybe doesn't have the capacity to understand what happened. I mean, I'm really choosing extremes here.
Right,
That doesn't make this in any way acceptable. And I think that that is clear in the approach that was taken. It also doesn't mean that we don't then make sure that we have things in place that this never happens again, regardless of the reason, the person, the circumstances, the situation, and so on. And I think that we're doing that. I know it's very unsatisfying to sort of put trust in decision-making in someone when you don't have all the details. Believe me, many times it's frustrating not to be able to share all the details because it makes some things very clear, makes other things a lot muddier. I think it is important to make case-by-case decisions, and I have an awful lot of faith in our administrators in making those decisions. We make them all together, of course. We bring in many consultants from organizations, legal counsel, and mental health counselors and so forth, and I really kind of hate to make a blanket statement for everyone.
that makes,
I do think that transparency is very important, and I believe that that is exactly what Mr. Paul tried to do. As you're aware, even though it was, I believe, clear, we did receive several media outlet requests for comment about the quote-unquote threat at Oliver Ames, and there never was a threat, and I want to be crystal clear about that. So even when you send information, it can manifest into something very different. So I'm not sure, in every case, sharing information makes everything go away. That's not, there are still rumors, there are still innuendos, there are still fears. We certainly are willing to share any information, but I think this goes back to sort of a perpetual problem that we've had in the school department, and that is people not reaching out to a first-person source. So I would say that if somebody feels they don't have the information that they personally feel is important, that they need to call the school. And unfortunately, that isn't what's happening. So people will reach out to others, they'll reach out to other parents, they'll reach out to the press to find out what happened, they'll reach out. We have the perfect resource right here. And I think that in this case or any other case, if for some reason anyone feels as though they aren't getting enough information, absolutely contact the school, because to the extent possible under the law, the protection of our students, we will absolutely share information regarding a case like this or really anything else.
So I'm totally now, this is what I do when I listen to a really rational perspective, is I would say moving forward that we leave it up to the individual administrators and the school department in terms of how we want to share information. If you feel it's appropriate, that it just be shared with the community that was impacted. If you feel it needs to be shared with the community, the district at large, I think I'm willing to. I don't know about everybody else.
The thing I have is like, somebody's gonna take this letter.
Yeah.
And they're gonna post it on Facebook.
Absolutely.
So, I guess I don't see and I'm not making the decision here, but just my personal viewpoint is I don't see the problem of sharing this letter with all parents. And I guess one of the benefits of doing that is that's telling all parents that something was done, steps were taken, it was immediately taken care of. So any rumors that are out there for parents that something horrible happened and there was a threat and it's not being addressed, that's cutting it off at the knees.
There's maybe a difference between posting it on the high school website and sending it to every parent's home. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, because
I agree with you. I see your perspective. The only thing I need to say is sometimes people don't post things on Facebook for information. They post things on Facebook to get a conversation going.
Right. No, I agree, but that's, I guess,
the posting on the website.
it's not
fair,
I guess maybe I'm not expressing myself well.
No, because I don't think we did post it on the website, that's why I'm asking.
No, so as a parent of somebody that doesn't go to Oliver Ames, if something happens at Oliver Ames, I would want to know about it, because even though my student isn't a student there, my student is a member of the community where we all live together. And so to know that it was taken care of is helpful when I'm sending my child to school, to know that something is taken care of and it's being addressed and being taken seriously. It doesn't have to do with, I don't want the conversation on Facebook, it has to do with knowing that when incidents happen in the school system, which my child is a part of, it's being addressed and taken care of immediately. And that gives me a sense of security for my child. So that's just, again, my own personal perspective.
Right, and I'm just, clarifying, as a parent, you would prefer to have an email of that?
I would, but that's, as a school committee, that's, I'm only one voice, so if people think that's overreaching or more than needs to be done, then of course that's.
And the only thing I would caution, which is why I think we need to leave it in the hands of the district to a certain extent, is that can be a very slippery slope.
Yeah.
About well, something happened at the high school. Did you hear about that, why wasn't I informed?
Okay.
So, again, I don't have a problem with allowing our district leadership to make an appropriate decision. And perhaps
A good
something
balance.
like this is something that you would want to
Right.
send out district-wide because of the nature of the topic. But
Okay.
I just worry sometimes because I do hear of things like that. That people will hear a rumor about something that happened at the high school and they'll be, why didn't I know about that? Because it wasn't appropriate for you.
Right, no, I completely agree with that, I understand what you're saying, I think it does make sense to leave it in the hands of to make that decision, or, the principals to make that decision.
But I do agree with you as far as knowing that the incident was taken care of immediately and having a child in another school other than the high school, that you know if this is the policy at the high school, then it's the policy all the way through.
For something like
Is
this.
it easier to email it out to every parent, or is it easier just to put the letter on the school on the district website? I don't know which is easier.
Yeah.
If people want to find things out, they'll go investigate. Sometimes people look at an email and it's all done anyway. I don't
It's
know.
a good solution for this reason. People who want to know are going to check the website. I think sometimes when you send a letter out to everyone, there's going to be a small portion of those people who receive that letter who just read every third word. I don't know what they do, but believe me, they're out there and they're going to go crazy. And then you're going to have twice as many posts on Facebook that are completely, that are just really intended to, yes, start a conversation, but in some cases it's just, seeking attention. I mean, it's sad, but it's, the social media aspect of this has made things much more complicated. But I feel like, honestly, even 10 years ago, what Wes did would have felt like the gold standard, and no one on earth would have questioned whether or not it should have gone any further. So it is the social media piece and the kind of quasi-hysteria that a certain proportion of.
Well, but I also think it's the world we're in now.
I'm
These
saying
threats
that.
are,
Right.
not threats.
It's not a
that's the
threat,
word.
it's not.
I know, I'm sorry, I just said, I said the wrong word. These incidents are more pervasive, they're happening in many communities, if not every community. Some are just not.
That's just it. I'm not sure they are more pervasive. I think it's just that we're more aware because of both the media attention and Facebook, and social media.
But they're
It's not to say we
making
don't
parents
address
and children a little more concerned because things are happening. And it's not unreasonable when you hear about something in your community, when you have a child, to want to make sure that it's being addressed so that you feel safer sending your child out to work. Maybe I'm overreacting because of all the recent events, but I don't think it's unreasonable for parents to take this seriously enough that they want to know that it was addressed.
I agree. I think that putting it on the website is a good idea.
Right.
Because people who then have that question look on the website. In fact, that can be something that we sort of incorporate in some of our messages to parents. If you have a question about something that you have heard has happened at the schools, there may be information on the website. Check that first. And then, then as Dr. Kroll said, seek information from the appropriate source. Don't just post on Facebook.
Right.
Has anybody heard about this?
Right.
And let's all go crazy with 80 comments within 20 minutes. So I'm sorry, it's just so frustrating that people don't just step back for a minute and say, let me find out about this before I go.
I agree.
So,
Going to the source is the
I
best.
would like to have our administrators make the decision. Maybe in this case, in the future, the idea of putting something like this on the website would make sense.
You can put it on now. I mean,
Each, as you said, each unfortunate instance of things like this that, show bias or whatever is a little different. So, each instance kind of requires its own
judgment.
and way of addressing what happened. But I just feel like sometimes the more you send things out, the more information, people start to say, okay, maybe there's more to this story, or what are they telling us, or something like that. I mean, I can't even imagine a more thorough and appropriate way to respond to this particular.
No, and I think that makes sense to put his letter on the district website, because he addressed it perfectly.
So I just want to reiterate, we are not, I'm not pushing back in any way about sharing information. When I talk about, a blanket policy, I don't mean about this particular situation that we wouldn't share this if it happened. No, that's not what I mean.
Right.
We have many situations in
Right.
our mind when we're talking about this, so I'm certainly not talking about this. I'll just give you a quick example. There was something, I can't even remember, it was early this year, the end of last year, and it was OA also, where there was a rumor that there was some kind of a threat at the high school. There never was a threat at the high school. There was a cell of people that felt there should have been a letter that went home that addressed that. And I disagree with that, because we have 3,900 students in this district, and I feel really confident that if we were to do some sort of poll or survey, maybe 20 people were even discussing this issue. In those cases, the more things you send out about threat, it does create this fear that things are happening when they're not happening. I don't think that we should perpetuate rumors. In that case, we had no
I agree.
contact whatsoever from anyone asking me if something had happened. We heard about it word of mouth, and it was a social media thing. I am not on these Facebook pages of social media, and for people that suggest that I should be to know what people are concerned about, I will push back and say, no, I am asking you to reach out and contact us. It will take just as much effort as posting to Facebook. Please do that, and I want to make sure we're encouraging that contact, that information, that communication that is first person. We have never said we will not share anything that we are legally not obliged to share, but we simply don't get contacted. And so that's all I meant as the example. To send out a blanket statement whenever it is something is discussed, that would be difficult. So on a case-by-case basis, sharing this on the website for people that are looking for the information, that's a lot different, I think, than writing a press story ourselves or sending it to people's homes or whatnot.
I think you kind of raise the alarm level if you send every single parent in the district a copy of this letter and saying it was this incident. I think that people who have heard that there has been a reason possible can check the website and see exactly how it was addressed.
I think it encourages people to check first-person resources.
Yeah, and it puts a little bit of the onus on those individuals. I mean, that rumor that you talked about is a perfect example. You can't be sending letters out about rumors that have no basis in fact.
And you're not suggesting that.
Right.
We know you're not
We know
suggesting.
you're not suggesting that, but I'm just saying that's, kind of the.
But that's the slippery slope that I was
Yeah.
talking about. That people, you can set that expectation that suddenly people want a response to everything.
But even having said, maybe it makes sense to put on the website, I still think that we need to leave it in your hands and the hands of the administrators. Because they're the ones who know the kids, who know the circumstances, and who know how much it makes sense to share and so on. But that letter obviously is public and it's everywhere. And
Absolutely.
I was actually kind of, in fact, was pleased, and I think you were too, that really the comments were very complimentary of what, people had posted this on social media, but the comments were very positive. For once, it was like, this was handled perfectly, that kind of comment was good, which was really nice to see.
Yeah.
This is so different.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so I
It is.
think,
And just, I'm just going to do this. I know that everybody sitting at this table understands this, but if we were to get any press inquiries, to one of us, that we always want to refer those to the chair. That, that those kinds of things need to go to the chair or to the superintendent of schools.
And I think that's also why it's important. We as school committees are not the source by any means, but just to have a heads up when things like this happen in case a parent does call, and then we're aware of it, and we can say, please call Mr. Paul, please call Dr. problems solved, whoever, they're the source and they can give you as much information as they can.
Well, you've been very good about, you know, a leaky faucet or whatever that has an impact on the schools. I mean, you've been very good about passing, you've been informed, you've passed that information along to the rest of us. Okay, well, I mean, that's
Apparently Caroline doesn't want any more information from
I do, I want, sorry, listen, I pass everything, she's the filter of what she shares.
No, what I'm saying is, it does make sense though for the chair, maybe to be given a heads up about the type of thing that you sit back and you say, you know what, this could be on social media and hardly. So maybe the chair knows, because you'll be the person the press calls first. They may try the rest of us, and we're always going to say, sorry that our policy is to the chair to provide information or whatever. But, I think that it probably does make sense for you at least to get a heads up about something that you could anticipate. I mean, we could have probably.
I think we could do that.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's
No, I'm
just,
just
yeah, we just want
reinforcing
to,
that
right.
that's a good thing for you to have, yeah.
And that obviously it's not appropriate for any of us to be ever sharing more detail than what's,
And
or to know.
usually we don't even know.
Right,
So
exactly.
it's, you know.
Well, that's the other thing. I mean, we pretty much don't know more than the general public.
No,
In a
nor
situation
should we.
like this, we
Right.
don't know a
It's,
single thing.
we
about
don't,
the
we
general
shouldn't
public.
have access
People
to
still
that
have an
information.
expectation.
Right.
Yeah.
What are you not telling us? It's kind of like, we can't tell you what we don't know.
Right.
Right.
So we,
And I think the other element is that, so the chair of the Human Rights Committee called me last night, and she wants to be looped in on these things like this. And what I told her is, that she can have the same information as every other parent, and we do have a school committee representative to the Human Rights Committee, and this is entirely appropriate for that individual to contact the Human Rights Committee and let them know what's going on.
but not in
So in
any
a
more
case like
detail
this,
than
I,
this.
No, well, we don't know.
I know.
They have the same access to information as every other parent is.
Right.
Yeah.
so in a case like this, I only let you know?
Yep.
But would I, in the future, also let the rep know? Or
No,
you're-
I'll let the rep. You just let me know and I take care of, or whoever the chair is takes care of the downstream. Yeah. information.
So it's always still.
Yep. It's just the same way it's always. I mean, at least that's the way I think it
Yes.
should be.
I'll
Yeah,
mention one thing. Obviously, before in the olden days, when I started on school committee, so when something happened, an incident of any kind, it could be even a construction accident, something like that. Actually, Dr. Simmons would literally call every member of the school committee. The reason being that we couldn't always get hold of the chair right away. So if there's something that he really felt that everyone needed to know, that would sometimes happen. So I would say if you can't reach Jackie for something, you could send an email to all of us.
But only if it's-
information. And I'm just.
It hasn't happened yet, but I think that.
Yeah, I think it happened and Jackie.
I can think of
was
like maybe
available.
one incident when that happened.
I'm just saying
It's so
that
important.
there could be an exception. In other words, if you can't, if Jackie's in France
Right, okay.
and
People-
Nancy's.
I wish.
And Nancy's going down to visit her grandchildren, you might have to let the rest of the
Yes, that could
I get to go to France. You get to go
with the terrible schools. Not here. Baltimore has some very good schools.
they do.
Anyway. Okay, anything else on this subject?
Oh, I do, not on this subject, can I, still on school
Yeah,
committee
yeah.
notes. The FEE volleyball was very successful, a good day. And it was nice that it was Saturday and it started at 3. And next year we'll be looking for more reps. But it was really a nice time, and the same team that won last year won this year. I don't know what their name is.
And I think they're actually thinking of continuing on Saturdays now.
And then it worked out great because the homecoming dance was Friday, and then the volleyball was Saturday. So it was perfect. It just worked out perfectly for the whole
And
weekend,
I
so.
think once word gets out that it's
Saturday might get more. It worked out
It was a
quite
good
nice.
turnout though, still.
was very
22
nice.
teams.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
We had
so,
25 last year.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was good.
So that team that won last year, it's a dynasty now, right?
I don't know. They were very gracious and very nice, yes.
And we weren't there until midnight.
Yes.
In the
Well,
morning.
that's the other bit.
Yeah,
Started
yeah.
a couple hours earlier.
It was good. It was
Well,
fun.
while you were there, I did go to the very beginning of that, but then I went to
The Hall.
the Olive Rings
Which I was very disappointed to miss, but unfortunately.
Athletic Hall of Fame, and I have to say it was, I just loved that event.
Mhm.
It's wonderful hearing the stories of, you know, really how meaningful the sports programs were for these now adults. You know, they have wonderful memories, but also clearly brought wonderful lessons into their adulthood from having participated in these athletic programs. And, you know, certainly kudos to all of the people who put it together. Ed Lynch is still there. You know, his lovely wife, Cindy Lynch, provided all of the flowers from all the tables, and really it was a terrific event. So Bill Matthews, our athletic director, two of his daughters were inducted, having been part of winning teams, championship teams. One of them, unfortunately, had a work commitment and was not able to do this. I guess his youngest daughter gave just a remarkably entertaining, really just delightful speech. And I had not been aware that like Wes Paul, he is one of those three daughter dads. And he just was clearly beaming with pride. It was just so nice to see. And his wife also was there and was just delightful. It just seems like such a nice community event, and it really does seem to pull all these folks together that have a wonderful memory. So it's a terrific event. But I couldn't be.
Thank you for going to that. Nope, can't be everywhere at once.
Anything else? Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to enter into executive session, not to return to open session, for the purpose of discussing strategy with respect to collective bargaining for the teacher unit, custodial unit. And in my opinion, having this discussion in public would be detrimental to the bargaining position of the school committee. Do I have a second?
Second.
All the committee?
Martin, yes.
Wiseman, yes.
Sophie, yes.